Trump has hit the ground running, and we are so back. The show starts in just a minute, but first, a word from our wonderful sponsor. As we welcome a new year, it's time to focus on what matters most, creating healthier habits, enjoying more moments with family, and spending less money on going out to eat. Well, GoodRanchers.com is here to help you turn all of your resolutions into solutions. When you buy your meat from Good Ranchers, you're directly supporting local farms and ranches in the United States and skipping the chaos and the imported meat in the grocery store. Good Ranchers delivers high-quality, 100% American meat straight to your door so you can start 2025 with better choices, better meals, and better moments at home. Remember to visit GoodRanchers.com and use my code TOMI, T-O-M-I, to claim $25 off, free express shipping, and your choice of free ground beef, chicken, or salmon in every order for an entire year. If spending more time with family, spending less money on going out to eat, and enjoying quality, nutritious American food is on your resolution list this year, then be sure to visit GoodRanchers.com and use my code TOMI today for meat that delivers just that. GoodRanchers.com, American meat delivered. We are about 2.5 days into the second Trump administration, and he's already done more for this country than the last guy did in 4 years. And even better, we know he is actually the one doing the things, not some green-haired intern with a women's studies degree. President Trump has signed so many important executive orders already, it's rather hard to even keep count. As of now, the total sits at 27 executive orders and 200 actions from those orders. They range from firings to gender sanity recognition to mandating federal employees get back to actual work and actual non-pajama related home slumber.
Sir, the next item, as you announced in your speech, is a requirement that federal workers return to full-time in-person work immediately.
And while they're all great in their own way, the border ones are my favorite. Like, truly, it's hard to pick my actual favorite. But hey, I think I'll take ending birthright citizenship for 1,000, Alex. But just like clockwork, California Democrats got to work not rebuilding after the devastating fires, but using some of their Trump derangement syndrome honeypot cash to sue the Trump administration over his order to end birthright citizenship. Because when your largest city is in ashes due in part to your mismanagement, the only appropriate thing to do is sue on behalf of illegal immigrants. Democrats have learned nothing, and in California, Democrats might actually be incapable of learning, just period. Joining me now is a California resident, and perhaps even the next governor of that battered state. Oh, we hope so. Steve Hilton joins me now. Steve Hilton, I gotta tell you, I don't know when President Donald Trump sleeps because he's done so much in the last 2 days. I'm having a hard time keeping up. Like every time I refresh my X feed or every time I turn on Fox News, it seems like we have 5 more things that I'm loving. But I'm wondering what grade you would give Donald Trump 2 days in with everything he's done.
It's amazing. I mean, it's got to be off the charts, right? Because, and I totally agree with you. By the way, I was in DC for the inauguration. Now I'm in New York in the Fox offices. I think I'm in Steve Ducey's office. So if there's Steve Ducey memorabilia all around, that's what's going on here. The thing that is amazing is exactly as you say, there's just the overwhelming scale of it and the energy level and the ambition and the urgency. It's so exciting. It's so American to me. There's a word that I've been using a lot in my commentary, and I just think it just really captures it. And we've been missing it so much. Is this kind of swagger? Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, we're America. We're going to do all these things. We're back. This is how we do things here. It's so fantastic. And so I was just reminded when you were saying which is your favorite. I remember years ago, we went on vacation with a family, some friends, and the kids wrote really sweet thank you letters, their kids. And one of them, this sweet kid, wrote, "Thank you so much for this vacation." They came to stay with us in America, and we showed them around and showed them California and say, "Thank you so much for this vacation. My favorite part was all of it." That's so great. That's how I feel about what's going on right now. My favorite part is all of it.
My favorite part is all of it too. And I mean, my goodness, we've got by 5 p.m. today, all the DEI offices, they have to shut down. Those people are going to be put on paid leave until those departments are officially closed. We've got executive orders ending birthright citizenship, which I want to talk to you about because, of course, California and I think 21 other states, they really want to make sure that anchor babies are possible. But we've got so much. I mean, designating the cartels as, criminal terrorist organizations. I mean, ending that CBP One app. And, the hysteria from the left has already begun, though. They're already super upset that Donald Trump is doing exactly what he said he was going to do in the mandate that the American people gave him.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the ending the birthright citizenship. We knew California was going to have an issue with this one. They're probably going to lead the charge. What are your thoughts on this? A lot of people are saying he can't do it. Do you think he can do it?
Well, it's not been tested, so I think it's a very we're going to have to see it play out, and it feels like it's heading for the Supreme Court. And I'm not a constitutional lawyer, but the ones that I've seen talk about it say no, this is a really serious argument to have because it hasn't actually been adjudicated. And when it was written, when it was part of the as part of the 14th Amendment, it was all about connected to the abolition of slavery to make sure that was addressed properly and full citizenship was granted. And so that was in a totally different era, before the era of mass immigration, and now under Biden and the Democrats, mass illegal migration. And so it needs to be tested. I mean, that's what our court system and the whole process is for. The other point I would make when, Democrats say, oh, it's, this is cruel and heartless and whatever. I mean, they don't think about, are they really going to go and die on the hill of defending the right? And by the way, this happens in California a lot, where you have, Russian oligarchs flying in their kind of, little kind of, not even a wife, just a girlfriend to have a baby in an exclusive LA private hospital so that they can get citizenship that way. That happens a lot. That's the kind of practice you see. It's not just the kind of, the image of it that the Democrats want us to have. This has been abused by some of the people that the Democrats say that they hate. So I think it's definitely something that we're going to have to keep an eye on as it goes through the courts. That's how this is going to end, I think.
And it should. I mean, let's test it. Let's see, because it's been used and abused, to your point. This was never intended to be, hey, come across the border when you're 8.5 months pregnant, drop an anchor baby, and now all of a sudden your entire family gets to stay in this country and you get to take part of our social services and you get to be a citizen with all the perks and benefits that come with actually being a U.S. citizen. It's been abused, and it's been abused by a lot of parents who have their babies here so that they can get the free ticket and that their entire family can get the free ticket. It's just, it's got to end.
Or if, I read the executive order and it talks about people who are here on tourist visas.
Yeah.
Like no one, I think, would think that that's what was meant by this, in an age of sort of, in the days, people couldn't travel internationally. It took sort of 6 weeks to get here from Europe or whatever, so I just think it's just of a different age. And by the way, these are the people who say that the Constitution should be a living document and should move with the times. Okay, let's have a look at it. And I think the other point that's important in all of this, and I can speak very much to this, is that being a citizen of this great country is an unbelievable honor and privilege, and something that I think should be a hard thing to get. I mean, I became a citizen 2021, so 4 years ago, and it took a long time and a lot of bureaucracy and a lot of paperwork. You have to go to the process is not an easy or simple process, and for us it was probably easier than it is for a lot of people, and I think that's appropriate because in a way it's the highest honor you could have. I mean, there's no country in the world that anyone would rather be a citizen of, and so it shouldn't just be something that is incredibly easy and just done at the drop of a hat. I think that's a very important part of this whole conversation, not just the legal side of it, but if you like the patriotic, moral, ethical side of it.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And in talking about that and these executive orders on immigration and everything that's going on, I was fortunate enough on Monday afternoon to be in D.C. at our D.C. bureau, and waiting in the green room to go on ahead of me was the wonderful border czar, Tom Homan. And I said,
Right.
Tom's been a good friend of mine for many years. And I sat down with Tom and I was like, listen, I need inside information here. When does this start? What's going to happen? And he's like, listen, Tommy, we were honest. We're going to go and ICE is going to do their job and we're going to go after the the criminal aliens first. And you know what? If they're not going to give us access in these sanctuary cities to their jails, then we're going to have to go into the community. And if we go into a criminal alien's residence and there are other aliens there, they're also going to be deported. Because you want to make it hard for us, then that's what we're going to have to do. And we're not going to look the other way if we go into a home and there's 10 other illegal immigrants in there. So they're actually making it more difficult for their residents in these sanctuary cities. You know, 100%. You live in a sanctuary state. So do you think, though, and this is the big question I have for you, and this is my biggest concern, once this all starts happening and we start seeing the images of it, because we're going to see AOC crying, at the border, and we're going to see the shots of the families, having to be deported. Do you think that the American people who voted for this very thing are going to have the stomach to see what this looks like when the law is enforced? Are you concerned that people are going to start shrieking in agony at the law being enforced? I'm concerned.
Well, yeah, you're right. And the left will do it, and the leftist media will encourage it, and they'll distort, just as they did in the first Trump administration, and lie about it and so on. I think there's a couple of points. First of all, I think they've been discredited quite a lot since then. The election result itself was a massive repudiation of all of that, but their credibility has gone, even as you see just in the last few days with this ridiculous thing about Elon and the Nazi salute. And then you have AOC herself. I just think they've really discredited themselves. So I don't think it has the same power. I don't think it will have the same power this time around. However, it is still a concern. I think that it's going to be very important. And by the way, I'm just like you. In fact, I spoke to Tom. We were trying to meet up, but I spoke to him over the weekend as well. And specifically to say, as I'm now getting more and more engaged in California policy and politics, to let him know that, and let him know that, okay, you're going to have a bunch of nonsense from these California Democrats pushing back on all of this and standing in his way. But I wanted him to know that I'll be there as someone who is, shoulder to shoulder on the deportation of dangerous, violent criminals who threaten our communities, who shouldn't be here in the first place. And so I think the concern is exactly as you say, that they'll use it to try and undermine the whole process. And therefore, it's going to be very important, not just for Tom and his team. Kristi Noem, remember, runs that department. She's going to have a very important role in communicating, in explaining, in making sure it's handled in a way that where you can keep making the argument, keep making the case, bringing it back to the fact that you've got people who are a threat and a danger to American communities, got to get them out. And win the support that way. And I think they've got to not just think, well, we won the election, now we just got to do the job. Of course, that is true, and they already are. I mean, he's already giving out the numbers just in the last couple of days of how many they've already done. But the communication, the explanations, it's got to be a huge part of it. And it's Tom and Kristi Noem, I think, that are going to have to do that. Of course, the president as well, who is always good at that. But it's a really big part of it, because it's like, in a way, it's the top of the list. It was if there's anything you could pick from the election campaign, say, what was it really about? The real driving issue, obviously the economy, but this as well.
Well, it's an economic related issue as well. And, they used to have that COVID ticker that calculated the number of COVID deaths, and they used it to scare people. I would like a deportation ticker. I would like to know how many deportations that are underway under Border Czar Tom Homan. I think that would be important for the American people to understand. And, listen, criminal aliens got to go first, but I'm one of those people as well that's like, listen, Joe lied to you. He said, come one, come all. You're going to be able to live in the United States. We're going to pay for your debit cards and your hotels, and we're going to pay for, your culturally appropriate meals. And Joe lied to you because Joe thought that Kamala or he were going to win an election. And you know what? They didn't. So what comes in must go out. Come back the right way. And like you, it might take a little while, but guess what? That's part of the process. Yes. I might sound callous, but I don't really care. Steve?
Well, I tell you who agrees. And I have this conversation all the time in California with immigrants and for immigrant families who've done it the right way, Mexican families and so on, and they've been here and they've worked hard and they've struggled through the bureaucracy, like more than a decade in some cases. And you ask them what should happen. I do all the time, and I have because I'm really interested in how people see this. They're the most ferocious on it. They say, well, no, it's outrageous. And especially when they see these unbelievable policies that are pushed by the Democrats in California. Like, last year we had the just the obscene insult to regular Californians who can barely afford to buy a house because of their stupid policies that have made it so expensive to build anything. You can't. So the house price is highest in the nation, rents highest in the nation. It's impossible for anyone to afford to live a normal life. And so what do the Democrats do? They're going to take taxpayer money, excuse me, from hardworking Californians and hand it to illegal immigrants who've just walked across the border for subsidized down payments to buy a house. I mean, I can't think of anything more insulting. Now, that one actually, to be fair and factual, was vetoed by Gavin Newsom, but only on the grounds, not because it was so morally wrong, which it is, and an insult to everyone. He said, oh, well, this year we can't afford it. Like, that's not going away. They're going to try and bring that back because they're so they're so far left, these people, but they've lost the argument, and it's immigrants themselves who are pushing back.
Well, also, Gavin wants to run in 28, so he couldn't do anything too extreme because that might ruin his chances. Newsflash for him. He's not going to be president come 2028 because he's destroyed California so badly. I want to talk about this because Donald Trump's been taking a lot of questions, and I love it. And there's been a lot of hysteria. He's going to be going to California later this week to look at the wildfire damage. And, he said, because, again, the media is trying to frame this as you want to cut aid from California and these devastating fires. And he spoke about it yesterday, and he said, listen, you got water. You let the water run into the ocean.
Yes.
You're trying to protect a worthless fish. And so we need to actually fix the problem and have real solutions, not just throw money at it. I want to take a listen to this soundbite because I thought personally it was hilarious. I'm sure you enjoyed it as well. Let's take a listen.
Los Angeles has massive amounts of water available to it. All they have to do is turn the valve, and that's the valve coming back from and down from the Pacific Northwest, where millions of gallons of water a week and a day, even in many cases, pours into California. Goes all through California down to Los Angeles, and they turned it off. It's off now. The valve it turns toward the Pacific Ocean, and all that water goes pouring into the Pacific Ocean. If they did what I told them to do, they wouldn't do it because politically they didn't think it was good. I think it's great politically. I think they're dead politically. What they've done, they've destroyed the city, and they could be loaded up with water. But isn't it incredible that they don't do it? And it's to protect the Delta smelt. It's a fish that's doing poorly anyway. But I said, how are you protecting the Delta smelt by not giving it water? It's a fish. It needs water. Nobody can answer that question.
Steve, it's a fish. It needs water. I mean, I was busting out laughing when I saw it yesterday. I'm laughing now. But he's right. It's hilarious, but he's right.
It's brilliant. He's right about everything. Also, I love the fish is doing poorly. It's not just doing poorly. It actually died out in 2020. They couldn't find any. And so it was revived by UC Davis, who had a sort of hatchery program. And they put it back now, literally to act as an excuse for this insane water policy. The whole thing. He's basically right about everything. And I see all these journalists sort of sneering at him and say, oh, what does he doesn't know what he's, the valve and everything. They think he's making it up. He's completely right. And just to sort of give our audience the facts, basically what you've got, a lot of the water for California is in the north, because that's where the mountains are, the Sierra Nevada, the snowpack, and it melts during the spring and summer, and that provides the water. And most of the people live in the south, Los Angeles and Southern California. That's vastly where most of the population is. And so you've got these canals that bring it down. Basically, there's one federally built and owned canal, aqueduct, and there's one state-owned and run. And Trump, in his first administration, exactly on this point, said, and it literally has these giant pumps. So he's not wrong when he talks about a valve. There's these giant pumps. They're close to the San Joaquin Sacramento Delta, and he ordered an increase in the water supply through the federal canal. What did California Democrats do, Gavin Newsom? To compensate for the increased supply in the federal canal, they cut the supply in their state canal. They literally cut back. And exactly as he said, they sent the water, instead of down the canal to Southern California, they sent it out into the Delta. And that's where the fish are, in the Delta. So it's just, he's right. And these journalists are saying, oh, he doesn't. They're the ones that don't know what they're talking about. And this is the thing about Trump that I've noticed both when you see him in public and in my personal interactions with him. He really understands the detail of policy. Once he gets involved with something, he really knows about it in a very practical way. And he remembers the details. He's completely right about all of this.
He is. I'm hoping that he can save California. I'm hoping you can save California. And Steve, I know you're a tech guy as well. I know you're heavily involved in that and you have a lot of knowledge on it. So yesterday there was the big announcement, of course, the huge investment in AI and these data centers. And it's incredible what's happening. But there are a lot of folks out there that, on both sides of the aisle, just average folks that are very concerned about AI and the potential for AI. And then there was some discussion about, AI cancer vaccines. And I think the hair on their arms started standing up like, oh, I'm not taking an AI cancer vaccine. All right. Like, let's slow it down a little bit. We all know AI is important. We have to lead this charge. We don't want China to be the ones leading it. They actually are ahead of us a little. But what do you think about this? Do you have any concerns? The investment is great, but what do you think about some of the AI initiatives? We need to be careful.
You're completely right to frame it like that. I think it's good. On a very practical level, we definitely, it is an arms race, and we cannot let China win it. They're our enemy. And if we think that the uses here are concerning, imagine the uses that our enemy China would make. So just on that level, we can't let them race ahead. That is true. But I think the concerns are real. And I mean, I am a tech guy and I understand it. I ran a tech company and I live in Silicon Valley, but actually, I wrote a book 10 years ago called More Human, about how we have to make the world more human. We have to decentralize power. Everything's got too big and bureaucratic and so on. So I do think that's really valid. I think that the real question is that the real point is this: we should be looking at, we should be having a conversation about how to regulate the way it's used, not the actual core technology and the way it's developed. So the core of it is what they call compute, which is just giant computers that do these calculations, that process lots of data. So that should be done in a way that's, and what Trump's doing, which is to deregulate the whole area. Say, you go ahead and do that, and we'll provide the energy to do that, because there's a sort of widely known fact now, which is that just one query on something like ChatGPT uses 10 times as much energy as a Google search, just a lot of energy. So we're going to build up our energy capacity to power all this, which is a good thing anyway. But then how it's used is very, very important. For example, it can help with the sort of, here's a good example. When you think about X-rays. And the old-fashioned, we all have in our image from sort of TV shows, the doctor putting the X-ray up on the sort of light box and looking at it, trying to spot things. A computer can do that with all the X-rays in the world almost in less than a second to spot things. So that kind of thing is incredibly helpful and can get better outcomes. But what you don't want is, I think, that it replacing our humanity when it comes to just sort of daily life and making decisions and choosing things and relating to other people. So I think that's where we have to be careful. I agree with you.
Yeah, it makes a lot of folks just a little bit nervous because they don't know how out of control it can get. I mean, it's important. There's always resistance to new technology, but it's great that we're going to have the investment and, it gets it done on day 2. It's incredible.
Right.
The last thing that I want to ask you about, just real quick, going back to California, if you do choose to run for governor, do you think you'll be going up against Kamala Harris?
Well, first of all, thank you for mentioning that. I am strongly considering it. It's not that far away now, the moment of final decision. And just to not be too much of a tease about it, what I'm actually doing is looking at is the support there? You got to take it. If I do, I'm doing it because I want to win, and I want to know that I can win, and that I have the support to win, including the financial support and all the rest of it. And that's what's going on right now. I hope she does. I really hope she does, because nothing, I think, could make it more likely that a Republican wins in California, which is what we desperately need. You even had Bill Maher saying on his show the other night that we got to end this one-party state. Now, basically, that means, and he's right about that, of course, but that basically means you got to vote Republican. And I think that it's so obvious we need change on everything. It's been a total failure on every front, this California one-party rule. Who represents that failure and the past better than her. I mean, she's the opposite of what California needs. She's obviously a terrible candidate. She couldn't express properly in any kind of coherent or inspiring way why she wanted to be president. How's she ever going to do that about why she wants to be? We all know why she wants to be governor, because she doesn't want to be, forever known as a loser. Well, if she runs, I think she will be a loser again, because you're going to have the whole country, Republicans right across, not just in California, saying, yeah, great, bring it on. Let's beat her a second, third time.
And Californians don't like Kamala. I mean, I think and Democrats don't like Kamala.
Democrats don't like her. That's the point. You talk to Democrats, they can't stand her, and think that, they can't believe that she's got all these jobs one after another. And, her staff, she is just someone who absolutely on no level inspires loyalty, enthusiasm, passion. She's just, a disaster on every front. She's a classic machine politician, doesn't really believe in anything, to the extent she does believe in anything, it's the kind of far left ideology she grew up with within the Bay Area. She's a disaster. And so I'd say, I'm hoping I really mean it. I'm not just saying it. I really, really hope she runs.
I do too. And I hope you run. And you have obviously my support for what it's worth. And I think so many Californians would support that. We need somebody like you. So I really hope that you do it. And I'm excited when that announcement comes. And I'm excited that California could very well have a bright future. So Steve Hilton, thank you for taking the time. Make sure you get back to California so you can greet Donald Trump when he arrives. I'm sure that he would love to see you, and stay warm in New York. It's cold in Tennessee as well.
It's freezing. Thanks, Tommy. Great to see you.
Thanks so much, Steve. Folks, it's a beautiful week to be an American and a rather rough one to be an illegal alien. Go get 'em, Tom Homan. It's time for Final Thoughts, sponsored by Good Ranchers. I see all these pearl-clutching America Last losers pouting that illegals can no longer just waltz in here and suck this country dry. They're posting videos of would-be illegals crying that their CBP One Invasion on Demand app is no longer active, and oh shucks, they've been waiting in line to invade a whole 12 hours. You know how long folks trying to do it the right way have to wait? Longer than 12 hours, I can tell you that. And while I hate to sound callous, actually never mind, I'm perfectly fine sounding callous. News for the world here. Too bad. Joe ain't your president anymore. We put America first now. Donald Trump didn't tell you to come here to pay criminal, now designated foreign terrorist organizations thousands of dollars to come here. Joe and Kamala and Democrats did, and they lied to you. Or maybe they lied to themselves. See, they really thought they had 2024 in the bag. They thought they could pack y'all in here and give you amnesty and allow you to suck off the system so long as you voted Democrat your whole lives, and your kids did too. But that notion hit a giant brick wall called Donald J. Trump and the American voter. This is what we voted for. It sucks these illegals were lied to by Joe and Kamala into thinking they get a free pass for life. Thanks to Joe, our country sustained an unprecedented influx of illegals who drained our resources, overwhelmed our social services, and crapped on the rule of law. It was blatant disregard for Americans and legal immigrants who built this country. And that pure treason contributed to skyrocketing crime rates, the dumbing down of our schools, and stress on our healthcare system, police force, infrastructure, and more, way beyond our limits. And it was never about compassion. It was cheap votes. So yeah, the liberal outrage over the process of securing America is hollow, it's phony, and it doesn't change a damn thing. Joe broke it. This is how Trump fixes it. Get used to the images of illegals facing the consequences of Joe's cattle call. But you see, that cattle call is over now. We put America first. We put our citizens, our safety, and our national sovereignty above the rest of the world. And while that may be a novel concept to some, get used to it. This is the dawn of the new golden age of Trump and of America. The days of unchecked illegal immigration are over as of Monday at noon. The reckoning has begun. America is full. Turn around. And those are my final thoughts. Please be sure to tune in tomorrow live at 1 p.m. Eastern. Catch full episodes of this show on Fox Nation whenever you like. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Tomi Lahren is Fearless. From Nashville, God bless and take care. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want more of my hottest takes, must-see conversations, and of course, my final thoughts, click here and make sure you subscribe here so you never miss a beat. I'll be here every weekday, and I hope you'll join me.